Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to another episode of Footprints. This is a podcast where we talk about people who have ideas and their experiences that they're leaving a lasting footprint on who they're becoming. Today's episode is a little different, but in a good way, in the best way possible. I'm sitting down with a graduating senior, Gabe Perez, who's fascinated by history and ships, especially the World War II battleship, the Tirpitz.
Yes.
Right, when talk about that. He's also thinking deeply about modern technology, which we sort of talked a little bit about, and the power of inspirational words. There's some quotes we're going to talk about, and some that are near and dear to Mr. Davis's heart. And also why the family unit itself is one of nature's greatest gifts, which I think is really kind of cool. So this conversation is going to shift from the past to the present and then directly to what really matters. And that's the best part of this whole thing, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please welcome to the show Gabe Perez, graduating high school senior from BHS. Gabe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you were available to do this and appear on the show. I'm going to ask you right off the bat, though. Tell us something about Gabe that nobody knows. It could be something funny. It could be something quirky. Give us a little snippet behind Gabe. A little something. Go ahead.
Well, for one, when I was doing a personality test, I found out that I was like INFP, a mediator.
Okay. That's interesting. So you did a test?
Yes.
And they found that out?
Yes.
Okay. And so what does that necessarily mean?
And a mediator is like someone who keeps to themselves, but they are kind of smart in their own ways and can make friends with other people and can like tell the behavior of someone.
Oh, interesting. All right. So I kind of like that. All right. That's something that is your type of personality. That's you. That's what makes Gabe Gabe.
Yes.
Right? That's kind of cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard something brand new that I never knew about. I like that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Let's talk a little bit about like history. I love history. Obviously, I'm a history teacher. I got some pictures of the battleship, the World War II battleship, the Tirpitz. Right? Tell me a little bit about what interests you. What about? Well, first of all, what about ships fascinates you?
How they made modern history, like their destructive power, and how they are able to float and move fast in the water.
Okay, all right. Now, not bad. So why the Tirpitz, though, Gabe? What makes that ship different from, say, any other ship that you were interested in?
During World War II, the battleship Tirpitz was one of the sister ships of the infamous Bismarck. If you don't know who the Bismarck is, it's the one that sank the infamous HMS Hood with one shot. But the Tirpitz is different because she's always been stuck in port, which relates to me because we both don't really like to fight, despite being made as a battleship that is made for war.
Oh, no doubt. So the history, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't hear what he said, the Tirpitz was one of those ships that was just in port. It really wasn't made to go to battle, right? Or something like that?
It was made to go to battle, but because of the Royal Navy Air Force, they kept attacking it, making her unable to attack any other ships.
So it says here in the history, the Tirpitz really sailed. It did sail, but it really sailed. And they said there were some allies who were kind of terrified of the ship because it was so big.
Yes.
Right? So what does that say about the power of perception?
The power of the battleship Tirpitz is really strong because she's known for destroying a lot of cargo ships or allied convoys, preventing them from transporting supplies.
All right. So do you see any lessons maybe from the naval history of this particular ship in general that might apply to, say, modern day things that are happening today? What do you think? Any lessons from that? Because if you think about the Tirpitz, right, where it's just kind of like it's big, it's massive, right? Sometimes it could be the big bully on the block, right? It's one of those ships. Think about the time where maybe we've all experienced somebody kind of doing that to us, right? And there's a perception that that person is bigger and badder, but they're really not, right? They're really not. And with this particular ship, though, it really was, right? That was the difference. I really like that. Let's talk a little bit about your family, and talk about your footprints. What do your parents do for a living, Gabe?
My mom, she works at a hospital, and my dad does Uber.
Nice. Wish I could do Uber. I mean, you know what? That's some interesting work right there. So what does your mom do at the hospital?
She yes, a few days ago, she had to take care of the people that can't take care of themselves.
Oh, okay. All right. So she does a lot of that stuff. All right. That's not bad. Do you have any hobbies, Gabe?
I like to skateboard. I'm learning how to rollerblade, but I can't because of the snow outside.
So skateboarding and rollerblading, that's pretty cool. None of those things I can do, by the way. I can't do those things. I'd probably get hurt, nowadays. Although I got pretty good balance. I used to rollerblade back in the day, but they call it roller skating. The wheels were there were four wheels as opposed to inline like they have now. It's a little bit different. Do you have any pets, Gabe?
Yes, we have 4 cats.
4 cats.
And 1 dog at home.
And 1 dog. So 4 cats and 1 dog. Pretty good. Not bad. I like that. So I will tell you this. My wife, when I met her 30 plus years ago, she was a cat person, right? She loved cats. She always grew up with cats. I turned her into a dog person just recently, though. So what happened is, I don't know if I told the story this before, but my daughter had Shih Tzu puppies. And those puppies, obviously she had a litter she had dogs or whatever. And then I told my wife, let's go over and look at the puppies, right? Because my wife was like, we're not getting one. I was like, okay. So we went over and we sat with the puppies. And there was one puppy in particular that gravitated to her. It was a little small puppy. He had no tail. He was the firstborn. And he moved like a bear. So my granddaughter called him Bear. That's what they called him for. But anyway, Bear gravitated to my wife. And he sort of hung around, and all the other puppies were running around doing their other thing, but Bear hung with my wife. So we left, and she's thinking about it. And I was like, we're probably not going to get it. And then a couple days later, she's like, yeah, we got to go get Bear. So Bear is at my house right now, with his brothers, by the way. 3 Shih Tzu dogs at my house. We have Kendrick Lamar, which is pretty cool. We have Bear, who is our puppy, and then we have Zuko, which is my son's dog, which is pretty interesting, all those things. Anyway, let's get back to this because I think this is really important, technology, phones, and society. Tell me, sort of kind of connect the dots. How do phones and computers shape how people your age think about communication?
When I was in ROTC, we were talking about the technology, how they affect someone. For example, when someone's walking in the hallway with their phone, they just pretty much ignore everyone else around them, not bothering to talk to them or try to make new friends.
And what's interesting about that is coming up now, see, this is funny part. I have 7 children, and my oldest daughter, she wasn't really into technology or anything like that, right? Because you figure social media was kind of getting big about 20 years ago or so, right? And my youngest son is going to be 21 this year, but all he knows is about social media. All he knows is chats and stuff like that, group chats, right? Instead of calling someone on the phone, he'd rather put it in a group chat. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how the world is today for society. And it's funny you said that because technology it's good and it's bad, I think, but that's just my opinion. Some other people have different opinions about what they think it is, but you're right. They don't really, you see somebody walking down the hallway, it's like, oh my gosh. You might want to talk to them and say something to them, but they're so busy on their phone, they don't have time for you, which kind of stinks, but it is what it is. Now, what's one positive impact you think technology might have had on maybe education or just people being curious about things? What do you think?
Well, people have the access to learn a lot of different things. They can go online and look about Rome, or the Civil War and other things.
Now, do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
It can be good, but sometimes the internet doesn't have very useful or accurate information.
Yeah, so that's a problem, right? When it's not accurate, you're like, what are we going to do here? You know what I mean? It's like you're looking up something, and I'll give you an example. So my youngest daughter, she was in 9th grade, and she was a freshman, and she had to do a report on giraffes, right? And she's coming home complaining, I can't believe I have to do this report on giraffes. And I started laughing. And she's like, well, why are you laughing, Dad? I said, do you realize what I had to do in order to make a report? I'd had to go to Encyclopedia Britannica, pull out all the information, write it all down, do all the footnotes, do everything that, who annotate this, do that, right? All you have to do is go to Google, type in giraffes, and all the information comes up for you, and then you can just pick and choose what you want to get, right? So that's why I was laughing, because I said technology is so much better today than it was when I was a kid. You know what I mean? You can get information right away. Now, what do you think is a negative impact you see today based on technology? What do you think is kind of negative?
In my opinion, it shortens someone's attention span. Like they can be watching YouTube Reels and then they just instantly skip to the next video without watching the whole thing.
All right. So that could be a little bit of a problem, you think, right? Why do you think that's a little bit of a problem?
People who watch those YouTube Reels like have low attention span and they don't know like what important things can happen.
Yeah, something important can happen. You're right, 100%. Now, do you think we're becoming more connected or disconnected because of technology?
I think it's in between. We can be connected, like talking to our families and friends, but we can also be disconnected since we're mostly affected by our phones.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, if you were in charge, you're the guy, you're making all the decisions, Gabe. What's one thing you would change in how young people would sort of use technology today?
In my opinion, I'd probably prefer to use it for like emergency texting, and then just going outside to meet new friends or talk to your friends that you know.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, I you know what? It's funny you said that, because a lot of people obviously use their phones for whatever. Like it's like a small computer in your pocket, right? You have access to everything. The internet, like things that are on there, some good, bad, or indifferent, right? You can actually call and use it to call people. It's technology is really wonderful, I think. But then, conversely, it's not. It could be bad, right? And this is why. If you, like you said, you can go on like this thing called the dark web, right? And you can get on these things, and it's like, oh no, now you're exposing yourself to certain things that it's like the underbelly of society, sort of, right? A little bit. And so technology could be a good thing or a bad thing. And in your opinion, it is, what do you think, good or bad?
Between.
It's kind of dangerous sometimes, right?
Yes.
But it could be a good thing. Now, is silence becoming uncomfortable for people nowadays, you think? When they're like, don't say much. Like if you are interacting, let's say you went over your friend's house, a group of friends, and you're all sitting there, but everybody's on their phone. Nobody's really talking to them, to each other, right? Because that happens, right? You think silence is like becoming something that is part of the society in terms of you guys,
Yes.
Your age group?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
Most people are mostly stuck on their phones since they rather be doing things than hanging out with their friends.
Okay, all right. I definitely agree with that. So I'm gonna kind of shift gears a little bit right here, right? Because when we talked a lot about a couple different things, right? We talked about you're graduating this year. So tell me a little bit about your plans after graduation. Have you thought about it? Are you gonna go to college? What do you want to do? And this is a two-part question. So have you thought about what you want to do? And now that you're a senior, what would you tell your freshman self coming into BHS right now? So it's a two-part question.
For the first question, once I graduate, I might join the Marines,
Okay.
then go to college, and then become a paramedic.
Okay. Oh, all right. So that's pretty good. So go to the Marines, maybe go to college, become a paramedic, EMT. Those are great. In fact, one of my son Cameron, his buddy Tucker, is an EMT he's a firefighter also in Gloucester, which is pretty cool. All right, so that's not bad. All right, what about the second part of the question?
For the second part, maybe you should try taking as much advantage as you can at the high school and what they offer, like prom, clubs, making new friends, and seeing what they offer.
Okay, so let's think about this for a minute. You're a freshman. You don't know anybody. You're walking into BHS, right? It's all big and new to you, right? What's the first thing you think about when you get there?
That the seniors might be scary and mean.
You said the seniors might be scary and mean?
Yes.
But they probably, see that now, you built that up now in your mind, but that's probably not the case, right? They probably were some pretty nice seniors, right, at this particular time. You think some of the freshmen are thinking that about you?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm always walking around with my scarf on and my beanie covering my face.
That's okay. That's all right. Listen, that's you. That's your character. That's how you are. That's nothing wrong with that, right? Believe me, everybody has their thing that they do. Don't worry about it. You're being you. You're being Gabe. There's nothing wrong with that, all right? Tell me, two things. One, what is your favorite teacher at BHS that you're going to miss? And what was your favorite subject?
My favorite teacher was probably the instructors of the ROTC since they always put me out of my comfort zone. The second is probably RTC as well, since they always put me out of my comfort zone and I get to meet new people, spend less time on my phone, and participate in a lot of different events that they offer.
Okay, so what are some of the events that you enjoyed at ROTC? Tell us about that.
We did Raiders where we wake up at 6:30 in the morning. We also do challenges like marksmanship at the end of school. We also do drill team, and then we have a Raider championship or something like that, where we go to like other schools and compete against them.
So you compete against other schools?
Yes.
What's it called?
Raiders.
Raiders?
Yes.
So tell me about that. What is what's part of the competition? What are you competing? Like, what do you do?
It's just like a fun kind of event where we just compete at other schools and just make friends with them.
Okay. All right. So what are some of the events that you're competing against? What are they?
Sometimes we do the rope bridge where we first do like training where we learn how to use the rope and then make it into a bridge so it doesn't fall.
Oh my goodness! So you have to actually make a rope bridge.
Yes.
Oh my, that's interesting. What else? What else are you doing over there?
We also do a 5K run with a flag. Like I believe about 8 cadets that runs into a 5K.
Okay, 5K. And then what? Do you guys have to carry something heavy?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
How
heavy?
We was able to drag a whole boat or a kayak.
Are you kidding me?
On the ground.
How many people?
There was maybe 5 of us, 1 on the front, 1 on the back, and 2 on the side.
Oh my gosh, that must be some sight. And you're competing against other schools. What is it like? You get points, or is it time, or how does it work?
It's just to have fun with other schools.
Okay, all right. So let's say you guys have a better time carrying around this kayak than another school. Do you guys get points for that, or how does it work?
I don't really know how it works, but at the end of the day, every school comes to a circle where the first sergeant would be yelling at the students, and then.
So it's just one big family, basically, right? Even though you guys are competing in it against each other, I mean, other schools have ROTC programs, and so basically, it's even though you're competing against them, at the end of the day, it's everybody is one big happy family at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
That's kind of usually how it works.
Yes. At the end of the day, we also get rewards for other schools. I remember the last Raider event I did, we had to push a whole truck.
To push a truck?
Yes.
Up a hill or anything, or just push it?
There's a flat land. There's one from point A to point B.
How many people are pushing the truck, Gabe?
There was maybe 10 of us.
10 people?
There was 4 teams, I believe, or more than 4 teams. But
and you had to push it faster than the other group?
Yes. We got first place because we used the momentum.
That's actually smart. See, you're already thinking. I like that. It's pretty good. Excuse me. Let's talk a little bit more about your family. Because we had mentioned to me in your notes that you were thinking about, the family unit is maybe nature's greatest gift, right? And so what does that mean to you when you think about the family unit as a whole? As I already told you, I have 7 children. So, I enjoy families. But tell me about yours a little bit. You have a younger brother, older brother, younger sister?
I have a bunch.
All right.
I enjoy having a family because I'm always comfortable with able to talk to them. They don't judge me, and family is one of the greatest gifts you can have because friends, one day they'll always leave behind you or leave you behind, betray you, but your family, even if you make a mistake, they'll always stay there and protect you and support whatever you want to do.
No doubt. So how has your family really shaped who you are, who you've become? You said they really helped you a lot, right, along the way, right? But how is that, they give you, obviously, I know for me, my parents gave me core values and certain things that I took in, and they guided me along my path. And then I did the same thing with my 7 children. So tell me a little bit about you being guided by your parents guiding you. Like now you've gone into the military. Was your dad in the military?
He used to be.
Okay, what section of the military was he in?
He was in the Chilean army.
Okay, so he was in the army.
Yes.
All right, cool. And for you, so you saw that as something that to really aspire to. My dad was in the army. Now I'm going to figure out ROTC. Maybe I'll do something with my life through ROTC, which is really cool. And those are the footprints right there that you've gotten from your parents that you probably didn't even know, right? But it did happen, which is a cool thing, right? So now you're going to take those and you're going to run with those and you're going to do the best that you can. I love that. I love that. Okay. In a fast digital world that we have right now, why does family still matter?
They're the only people like you can trust and that will be willing to stay with you. Even if they're gone, they'll always be watching over you.
Oh, for sure. For sure. All right, now, I love this question because I was thinking about it a lot. What's one value that your family has given you that you'll carry forward with you no matter what, forever?
When my mom was working in the hospital, she said that she didn't like people, but it's only because she was judging them. But once she got to know them, then she realized like why they started doing these things and how they did it. So I started following that to try making new friends and see if they're okay or if they need people to talk to.
So, excuse me, that is the biggest thing you can take away from that is not shying away from meeting new people and new experiences and having those kind of shape who you become and who you are, right? Because think about that. That's the beauty of footprints, where your parents have guided you and given you advice and you're taking those footprints and you're moving them forward, right? Which is a really cool thing. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you like our content, please subscribe to BevCam. Also, don't forget we're on Spotify, where you find all your podcasts, and also Apple Podcasts as well. And if you want to come here and sit and tell your story, please go to www.footprintsimpact.com, fill out the guest form, come, sit, talk to me, and tell me your story. It'll be awesome. All right, check it out. Let's get back to this a little bit. I think there are two things that are really important. One, you said family, which is really good. But think about some of the quotes that we have in life that we learn a lot. Like, for instance, the roads we take. Now, my father said this to me when I was 13. He said, sometimes a man or woman will meet their destiny on the road they took to avoid it. That's pretty heavy, ladies and gentlemen, right there. But 13 years old, my dad said that to me. I never forgot it, and I'm 60 something. So, excuse me. Jean de La Fontaine was a French poet who actually said that. Now, why does this matter? It's kind of the backbone of everybody's life. Because what ends up happening is you might be on a road, Gabe, that is like full of like all kinds of problems and issues, and you're going to get off that road, right? But then you get on that another road, and guess what's on that? The same issues, right? So you got to kind of go through those issues, right? And then after you go through it, that's called life experience. And you get that, and you kind of figure out certain things along the way, right? So I like that quote. Sometimes a man or woman will meet their destiny on the road they took to avoid it. That's a good one. And think about the Tripits too, right? Because it was kind of meant to avoid open battles, and instead, it's kind of intimidated a lot of other different places, right? And ironically, that strategy made it a constant target, right? Where it was kind of so big and intimidating. And the avoidance didn't really save it from that. But what it did is it defined its kind of like destruction as like, I'm a big bad guy. But then, you know what happened? What happened to the Trippists?
After countless bombings from the Royal Air Force, they finally sunk the Trippists with tall boys.
So think about that. And sometimes students try to avoid failure, or they try to try to avoid like hard conversations or their responsibility on certain things that they should be doing, ladies and gentlemen. And then they wonder why those things sort of just don't really show up like they should, because they don't really face it head on, right? You really have to face things head on in life, just like you're doing. You're deciding, I want to be an EMT, but you're taking your path and you're figuring out how to do that by maybe going to college or maybe going to the military service before that, which is really kind of cool. I like this one. This is another good quote. Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. Think about that for a minute. Fate leads the willing and then drags the unwilling. That was by a Roman philosopher named Seneca. Now, why does this matter? You can cooperate in reality, but it'll get dragged through it like a bad group project, right? So there's two things you can do. And I think that the time with this is, remember now, Germany tried to control during World War II, right? Remember Germany?
Yes.
What were they trying to do? They were the big bad guy on the block, right?
Yes.
They tried to control everything. What ended up happening to them?
They got too cocky and started attacking every side, which led to their downfall. So all sides surrounded them, even from the ocean.
Exactly. So fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. So that was their fate because they thought they were the biggest and baddest on the block, and their fate was sealed by that particular thing because they thought they were the biggest and baddest. They didn't. They weren't. Okay. The life connection with that is, think about graduation, right? What are you going to do on that day? Are you anticipating graduating high school?
Yes.
Yes. So those 4 years have gone by in a flash, right? And all of a sudden, boom, here you are, you know, ready to graduate, ready to go to college, maybe to go to work, maybe to go to the military, right? It's happening whether you want it to or not. Now, the question is, how are we going to embrace it, right? So when someone sort of resists growing up a little bit, instead of learning or leaning into it, I think it's really important that they lean into it because a lot of times it's happening whether you like it or not, right? And you have to figure out your next life choice. And I think that's important to have that, right? Okay, listen, I like this quote. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you can call it fate. Ooh, that was Carl Jung. He's a Swiss psychologist. Right? Now, why does this matter? Think about this for a minute. Maybe destiny has this kind of lens looking at you, and you're thinking, I don't know, I'm just going to try to figure things out for myself. But it says, until you make the unconscious conscious. So you made a conscious decision after graduation. You said, hey, I'm going to go to the military. I'm going to do that. Right? That's a conscious decision. No one said to you, hey, this is what I think you should do, Gabe. You just decided, this is my direction and I'm heading, right? And now it's going to direct your life, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. And some people say they call it fate, but that's not really fate. You know what that is? It's a life decision that you made, right, to do that. So it's not really fate at all, right? That one I really like. Now, what's the connection? Think about this for a second, the life connection. Phones and routines kind of influence who we are, right? But if we don't really examine it the right way, we're not really sure exactly who we are until we put those phones down, right? Because think about that for a minute. How many friends do you have? Let me ask you this. Do you have a best friend, Gabe?
Yes, I only have one.
Okay, one. So if you're lucky in life, you get one best friend, ladies and gentlemen, by the way. Okay, and Gabe has one. So now with your best friend, when you guys get together, what's the first thing you guys like to do?
We play Minecraft. It's like an online friend though.
Okay, but still, you talk to him probably every day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. And so that's not really fate. That's a conscious decision, something you've done, which is really kind of cool. All right? Now, what habits do you think quietly shape your generation? The way that's happening, the way the world is the most. What do you think?
I have no idea for that one.
Well, think about it. You have certain habits that you do every day, right? And sometimes we do them without thinking, right? We shower every day, that's a habit. We eat every day, that's a habit. We sleep every day, that's a habit. Brush our teeth every day, that's a habit, right? We have all these things we do, right? Unconsciously. Those are habits we do. Now, think of the conscious habits you have. You get in a car and drive, if you have a license. That's a conscious habit to drive to work, right? Interact with your peers. That's a conscious habit, right, that we do, right? What else? What other conscious habits do you think you have?
Maybe observing other people and seeing like what their body movement. Like if they're shaking their leg, I always assume like, are they okay? Or, are they having trouble in life or like in school?
Yeah, you never know, right? So that could be a signal of somebody having some sort of issue, right? And you're able to kind of read that and help them out maybe through their problem if they have it, right? All those things are important in life, Gabe. And all these things are something, I call them like connecting the dots, so to speak, right? Because that's what we're doing when we're actually making a conscious decision. We're connecting the dots from one thing to the other, which I think is really kind of cool. Okay, now, I like this saying. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Think about that one for a minute, okay? Joseph Campbell, he's an American writer, right? Now, why does this matter? So most times people try to avoid things in life, right? Most accurately, like, they're like, I think I'm not gonna go that way, or I'm not gonna do that, right? There could be an issue. Maybe they need to speak to their significant other about something and they don't want to talk about it, right? So they avoid it, right? It says, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Now, if it does, then we should actually be not fearful of entering that cave, but going in and saying, hey, I'm going to face this head on. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. Now, what does this mean for us as individuals? What do you think, Gabe? What do you think that means? The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek.
You'll have to overcome your fears to get to what you want. Like if you want to become a pretty good soccer player, then you will have to keep training, even if it's scary.
Absolutely. Listen, anything in life worth doing, you have to really put some time into it, right? You have to rep it out, is what I say, right? I'm a basketball coach, right? You can't just walk on the floor and be a good basketball player. You got to learn how to dribble the basketball. You got to learn the footwork. You got to learn how to shoot. You got to learn how to pass. You got to have your eyes up and see everything. So it's really important that you make those connections, right? And be able to do that. You're absolutely right, 100%. Now, what's a cave people your age avoid walking into most? What do you think?
Failure.
Failure. Let's talk about that, because that's really important. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people fear failure?
Because they think that if they fail something, that they might not get their dream. But if you do fail a lot, then you'll learn from your mistake and keep learning differently, so you can get your job or your dream.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you said that, because Michael Jordan had a great saying. He said, limits, like fear, are often just an illusion. Think about that for a minute. That's really true, right? Because sometimes we build these things up in our mind, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's not so bad. I don't know why I was thinking it was going to be that bad, right? You build these things up to the point where it's like you're fearful of it. You have this block in your mind. And Kobe Bryant also said, fear doesn't exist. He said, because people build these things up in their mind, and they put a barrier in their mind, and all of a sudden it's like now you feel like, oh, I can't do it. You know what I mean? You've already blocked yourself you limit yourself from doing that particular thing, right? So that was really kind of interesting that he said that. Now, I like this last one. Life can only be understood backwards. It must be lived forward. You know who said that?
Who?
Steve Jobs. Now, I love Steve Jobs. In fact, when I was teaching leadership class, I had a lesson on Steve Jobs. He had a commencement speech that he talked about at Stanford University. And the reason why they elected him to do the commencement speech is because he had just beat cancer. And he was one of those guys who had lost his job at Apple, which a company that he created. He lost his job. And he said, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forward. What he meant by that is he was in college. He didn't necessarily like college, but he dropped out of college to drop into college, and there was a course he took that was the typography for his particular Mac computer, which we actually all use today. So imagine if he didn't do that, right? Imagine how the world would be different if there was no Mac computer right now, right? So that's why life can only be understood backwards, because I get a lot of life experiences that I've had, and I understand these things now that I'm this age. But when I was your age and coming up, I didn't really understand a whole lot of stuff. I thought I knew it all. I told my parents when I was graduating high school, oh, I know everything, I'm good, I know everything. Come to find out, I knew nothing about life until obviously I started to live it. All right, so that's a good one. And, this is a really good thing for you as a graduating senior, because you're living forward, right now. You're looking forward to doing certain things. You're going to connect with certain people. You're going to do certain things. Why do you think that's important?
I have no idea.
I got him, ladies and gentlemen. I got him. So what do you think your future self will understand today that you didn't understand when you were, like, say, a freshman?
I always try to understand what's the meaning of life, but once you get older, then you'll never understand the point of what's the meaning of life. It's just there to exist and for you to be living in it.
Well, it's funny you said that because for me, I kind of know what the meaning of life is. Like, I feel like my purpose is to help other people. That's like, I was put on this planet to do that. Hence, ladies and gentlemen, Footprints, come tell me your story. Tell me where you came from. Tell me who you are, just like you're doing today, right? So this is the thing. I think your story can influence someone who might have a similar interest, right? Maybe they like video games. Maybe they're into ROTC in the military. Maybe they like military boats and ships and things, right? So your story can help somebody else. Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty of Footprints. And that's the beauty of doing what I do every day, going at BHS. And that's why I like what I do. I love what I do. Not like it, but I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you love our content, please subscribe to BevCam. And don't forget that we're also on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. And if you want to come sit here and tell me your story, please go to www.footprintsimpact.com, fill out the guest form, and then come tell me your story. All right, check this out. We're going to do some rapid-fire questions right now. One-word questions, one-word answer, bunch of questions, one-word answer. All right, here we go. Phone or computer?
Phone.
Phone. Okay. You got to tell me why. Why the phone?
I prefer to using it for emergency contacts. Even if I have social media, I don't really post things since I don't like to be famous.
Oh, okay. All right. I like that. All right. History book or documentary?
Maybe documentary.
Documentary?
Yes.
Okay. Why? Why the documentary? See, I said one word answer, but I got to know. Why the documentary?
For documentary, other people will read them for you instead of having you read for yourself on the history books.
Okay. Yeah, and you can get some information on that person too, right? Usually documentaries are really kind of cool. They focus on a certain individual or something they've done, and you're like, that's interesting, right? You want to kind of figure out what's going on there. All right. One word to describe high school for you.
It was pretty fun.
Fun?
Yes.
Oh, that's 2 words. You said pretty fun. I'll take that, though. It's not bad. How about one word to describe your family?
Amazing.
Amazing. I love that. All right. How about this? What's the biggest distraction you think today?
Technology.
Technology. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. How about one habit you want to break?
Expectations.
Expectations. Oh, this is interesting. Now, I got to know. Why breaking the habit of expectations?
Every time I send a message to someone, I always expect them to reply back instantly, but it always takes them like minutes or an hour to reply back.
All right, so your expectations of that person when you're communicating are a little bit different. Okay, all right, I like that. All right, how about one habit you want to keep?
The quotes.
Say again?
Quotes.
Oh, okay. And why?
They can help me learn or like move on in life.
Okay. All right. I like that one. How about this? Past or future?
Future.
Future. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I always say this. The future is determined by the present. So whatever it is you're doing today is going to show up later on in life, right? So remember that. That's my quote. I like that one. All right. How about this one? Legacy or success?
Legacy.
Legacy. Why legacy?
So people can understand and be remembered of what the person was and how they became to be.
Absolutely. I like that 100%. You're right. Now, if you could have dinner with anybody, dead or alive, doesn't matter who it is, it could be a celebrity, sports person, whatever, military person, anybody you want, who would it be and why?
My family.
All right, your family. Okay. And why your family?
Because they're the most important people to my life.
Okay. I like that. The most important people to your life, family. See, I was thinking about this question a lot. And you know who I'd like to sit down and have dinner with if they were alive today? Michael Jackson. You know why? Well, I'm a DJ, and I love Michael Jackson's music. I love it. But I would just want to know, like, from his own perspective, like, how was it growing up in the house with all your brothers, all musical instruments, everybody playing things? Like, how was that? What was that dynamic like? And all of a sudden, the expectations, because he was on the Ed Sullivan Show. That's how old I am, ladies and gentlemen. And think about that for a minute. Started there with his family, and that was a good thing. And they became this close-knit group. Then he went on his own, and he became this pop icon. And then, of course, he had a tragic death. But I would just want to know, like, from him, like his perspective, like, did you think it was going to ever get this big? Did you think you were ever going to do this thing? You know what I mean? So I'd love to sit down and have a little dinner with Michael Jackson and just talk a little bit about his success or what his future would look like. You know what I mean?
My dad had a picture with him 26 years ago.
Is that right?
Yes.
Is there a story behind that? Your dad? How did he get the picture?
They met in Miami. Miami.
He met him in Miami?
Yes.
At a tour? It was like a concert or something?
I don't remember, but it's like, I think a mall.
Oh, isn't that interesting? See that? So you never know in life, right, who you're going to meet or who's going to influence you or all of that. And it's awesome for you to be today here on Footprints with us, Gabe, to tell us your story about what you're thinking and what you're going to be doing later on. I wish you much success with all of that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our show today. It's so good to have sat with Gabe Perez. Thank you, Gabe, for being here. Appreciate you stopping by. And ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you this. I always ask this question, but I think I'm going to ask two today. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, who left a footprint on you? And what are you going to do with it? I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.